Good morning. I'm Lauren Barber, and today is July 30th.
And I'm Sam Castano. This past week, the Potsdam Conference has been held in Potsdam.
This conference is a continuation of the Yalta Conference. The Yalta Conference was held February 4th through 11th previously this year.
At the conference was our former President Franklin D. Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and the General Secretary of the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin.
These men were known as the Big Three. At Yalta, they all met to discuss what they could do to make the world at peace. Roosevelt wanted to create a United Nations to help rivaling countries. Churchill feared the growing power of the Soviet Union, and Stalin was determined to protect the Soviet Union from other German invasions.
When the three met, Stalin had an advantage because of Russia's military victories. Former President Roosevelt was determined to include all American forces against Japan. However, Churchill and Stalin were highly concerned with dividing New Europe into zones of political influence.
All three agreed that Germany would be punished, divided, occupied, and administered by the Allies after her defeat. After discussion, Stalin agreed to give France an occupation zone. Stalin had also demanded that Germany pay $20 billion in reparations, and he wanted all of it for the Soviet Union. But Roosevelt and Churchill had to consider it, and they came to an agreement that Germany would pay the $20 billion, but only half would go to Stalin and the Union.
Roosevelt was concerned with a possible French-British buildup, so he made an agreement with Stalin that stated that Stalin would help fight against Japan 3 months after Germany had surrendered. The Big Three also agreed on the formation of the new world organization to be known as the United Nations.
The first scheduled United Nations meeting was set for April 25th in San Francisco. Unfortunately, the meeting did not take place because President Roosevelt had passed away April 12th. At their meeting, they were going to discuss with the countries that they thought had been excluded, and they would inform them on everything that had happened.
Following the United Nations meeting, Harry S. Truman and Stalin are meeting at Potsdam. During the first couple of days of the meeting, Churchill, Stalin, and Truman met to talk about how to reduce the tension between Russia and the Western Allies. Here's a video from the conference.
President Truman takes up his trip by air. He boards the presidential plane for the flight direct to Berlin and the three-power conference with Generalissimo Stalin and Prime Minister Churchill. Winston Churchill is Truman's first caller at United States headquarters in Potsdam. And Joseph Stalin meets the new American member of an historic triumvirate for the first time. Here, where German Kaisers first plotted world domination, Britons, Russians, and Americans meet after crushing those ambitions. They face far-reaching decisions. As was Franklin Roosevelt before him, Mr. Truman is named chairman of the conference. Important problems resulting from final victory in Europe and organization of the post-war world are the vital questions before the conference. At a flag-raising ceremony in American-occupied Berlin, Mr. Truman speaks.
We're here today to raise the flag of victory over the capital of our greatest adversary. In doing that, we must remember that in raising that flag, we are raising it in the name of the people of the United States who are looking forward to a better world, a peaceful world, a world in which all the people will have an opportunity to enjoy the good things of life and not just a few at the top. We want to see the time come when we can do the things in peace that we have been able to do in war. If we can put this tremendous machine of ours, which has made this victory possible, to work for peace, we can look forward to the greatest age in the history of mankind. That's what we propose to do.
In continuation, however, when Churchill returned to Britain hoping to be re-elected, he was disappointed when Labour's Attlee was elected instead of him. When Attlee went back to Potsdam instead of Churchill, nobody was there to calm Stalin down and keep him under control.
Stalin is currently refusing to give up Poland because he cannot prevent them from taking over the Neisse River. Stalin is also rejecting the free elections that he and Roosevelt agreed on, and Stalin was supposed to use America's proposal of the veto in the Security Council and the number of Soviet states represented in the General Assembly.
With Stalin breaking all the agreements that were previously set, he was gaining too much power. The three new conferees are having trouble deciding issues, so instead they are deciding to wait, and when a new issue arises, they would act in concert to govern the new, smaller Germany through a control council.
That's all the news we have for today. I'm Sam Castano.
And I'm Lauren Barber. We'll be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening.